Alright, I wasn't gonna do it. But I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do King's Row again. I really wanna, like, perfect a strat. I really want to get a map that's, like, dominantly ours because we have a airtight strategy. So I'm gonna try to keep this brief. And just kind of let the map play out as much as possible. 16 minutes. So we're going to aim for like 20-25 minutes in terms of a VOD review. Okay, Greedy gets picked. I want to look at that pick. Fuck, man. We're not going to make it. I think you just weren't looking for the Widow enough. You played that too rushed. That was maybe a little bit too wide of the angle. Alright, so let's just talk about the angles really quick. I wish I could show a gradient as they pushed in, but I'm going to just do my best to do this in ×2. And this is going to be really for our snipers up top. This is going to be pretty important for them, right? So when they're holding here at this choke like this, they control this space back here, which means their Widow can take any angle from back here, which means objectively she can only see right here, right? So this is the space that the Widow has influence over, which is pretty crazy when you start to think about how big of a space that she has influence over. But this is the space that the Widow will have influence over as long as her team controls this space, right? So as they push forward, put it back on 1 times actually. As they push forward, the Widow, they now have control of this space, right? And the Widow can take an angle up to here, right? Where she can control all of this space just by changing her positioning and stuff like that, right? So this is most of the map once the Widow has once they've kind of taken this statue area. And this is why playing around Widow could be so important, because the amount of space that she has influence over is actually crazy, right? So this is similar for Zen because he can put a lot of pressure from long range, and you're going to see, you know, Tat's going to feel the effect of this Zen. And now. Yep. Okay. So that was a little bit too far. So generally speaking, what we want to do is we want to minimize the amount of space that we have to check, because essentially the Widow can take up any of this positioning back here. And let's actually make this the pink area. She could take any of the positioning back here, and depending on her positioning will change the amount of angles that she actually has access to, right? So we'll label that out in yellow. So if she takes a position back here, that means that she can only see up till about here, right? Give or take. She might be able to peek a little bit further and then see to this window. You know, if she's up here, then she can only see up to this side. And then if she decides to go where, it's not really any different up or down, it's just a different kind of angle. But essentially, in order to reduce the amount of angles that she can see you from, you generally want to work from the last back position as a sniper and then slowly rotate forward. And essentially what this is going to mean for Greedy and Tat is that this is going to be the last back position. So this is the last position that you can go to while still kind of seeing where the Widow can come from. I just came up with this term. I'm going to call it the last back position until I think about it harder and realize that it's a stupid name. So there's one further back, of course, from the last back position, which is the -1 back position. I don't know. No, but essentially, right, like you want to play from as limited a sight line that the enemy Widow can control as possible, because you want to clear your angles one at a time, right? So if you are going to rotate way around after the bubble dies, then you can clear this angle first, where you can see, did she push past here? If she didn't push into any of this space, if the answer is no, then you can rotate one forward, because then you're going to clear more space. But essentially what that's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to take it one angle at a time and limit the amount of space that the Widow can control, by making it so that she constantly has to worry about you while giving you the ability to constantly check for her like slowly without exposing yourself too much, because there's a lot of angles that you have to check by taking this angle, right? She's kind of surprised you by coming from below, so she could have come from up here, she could have come from over here, she could have actually, like, now that her Roadhog is here, she could have come from over here, and she could have probably hit you from all those different angles. So you have to check all of these different spots that she could be fucking coming from because you took an angle that was so far forward. Once you see her tanks kind of push into this area, you kind of have to rotate to try to limit the amount of angles that she could potentially see you from so that you can clear some of them before proceeding. Because like I said, or maybe I didn't say it out loud, I might have just said it in my head. The Widow who winds up pushing into a sightline has a disadvantage, and that's kind of what happens here. Is the enemy Widow is set up, and you push into her sightline, and she has the advantage because of it. So if you're playing from that last back position and you just wait for her to push into your sightline, that's good. If you play from that last back position and you clear your angles and then you decide to rotate one more, it's better than what you do here, which is basically you just walk into a sightline where you just don't know where the enemy Widow is going to be coming from. So it's just a little bit dangerous. Next thing is going to be genetic. We're down 2. You can't be this aggressive where, okay, maybe you go for a hook really quick, but you have to, like, once you leave the steps of this hotel, you're kind of forsaking any safety that you might have in order to carry. So this is kind of the same thing that we were talking about, or at least I was talking about with Shadow, where it's like you're putting yourself in a position where you have to get 2 or 3 picks in order to get equal value out of what you're doing. And although you're a Roadhog and you can survive a lot of this, because you don't, and because they have Discord and Rock, you kind of just feed 600 health to the enemy team. So in situations where they're kind of taking advantage and getting early picks, I think it's really important that you take it slow, look for 1 pick at a time, and kind of stay in that safe positioning. If it's a chaotic fight where we've traded back and forth, or the fight's been going on for a while and the enemies are all over the place, I think that sort of positioning can get a lot of value, and I think that's actually where you and Shadow kind of shine the most sometimes, where, you know, it's gotten into a late fight and it's chaotic and nobody exactly is keeping well track of everybody on the enemy team. Because then you can kind of thrive in that chaos and just find minor 1v1 matchups to win. But in situations like this, the enemies actually haven't committed to anything yet. They just got 2 free picks and they're moving in carefully and slowly, which means we don't have the ability to take advantage of any chaos, because there is no chaos. They didn't get picks that were hard to get. They're kind of still clustered together. So you managed to get their Hanzo, which is nice, but it's just not an equal trade because our walk back time is going to be longer. So just try to play this situation a little bit slower, where there's not really much going on yet, but they somehow got picks. Okay, what are we at? What are we at time-wise? 7 minutes! We're at 7 minutes already. I'm the worst. Holy shit, I suck at this. Okay. Good picks by Shadow because of good positioning, I'm going to assume. No, let's go back. I want to see it because I fucked up. Alright, I like the contest by Complex because you still have you know, your supports on you and stuff like that. I actually don't know why they don't kill you here, because I think most teams would have just hit this headshot. I think you maybe could have actually played by this telephone pole a little bit more, but you are super critical low here. And the Hanzo for the team Canton, I think we're playing this Wednesday, so tomorrow. If you guys remember, he hits his shots. That was kind of one of the things that wound up happening, was they swapped onto Hanzo on like the 3rd map, and he just kind of rolled us on Volskaya and got like 3 picks a fight. So turning your back here, good. They can't hit headshots. Jumping out, good, but the Roadhog's up there, so you kind of have to get out. And we wound up trading back very well because Greedy gets 2 picks, but it's a little bit risky there, Complex, because, like I said, I don't know why that Hanzo just didn't hit a shot. It looked like he just kind of missed you for like 30 seconds. And I think your contest there was maybe a little bit too risky. Like I said, let them get the first tick. Who cares? You don't have bubble, then you can't really protect yourself. This is also risky, but I do think that you have to clear this. Just maybe clear this with, like, take somebody with you a little bit earlier, because that's just too risky for you to take that fight on your own. I think that Hog could have bursted you down a little bit better. Think about it this way. If Genetic was up there, would you have jumped in there? I think not. That angle just isn't good for you. Maybe let's use this angle a little bit more precociously. because gotten picked, I think, quite a few times from that angle. Good counter sight. Kind of just don't know what happens here. I feel like you guys just kind of... And this is, again, one of the weaknesses of the composition that we keep running into, which is this little cluster. Once they kind of get ults thrown at them, it's a little bit difficult for them to survive. I think the Valk was good, but I think this shows us that Valk just might not be enough to kind of keep you alive through that. Because, yeah, Shadow just gets burned through the Valk. And Genetic is going to suffer a similar fate right there. But what happens to everybody else? So Greedy gets picked, right? Because the Zen. I think Luna, you might have to res Greedy here if they have an enemy Widow. Because if we let their Widow roam free, I think she's just going to win them the game. 9 times out of 10. Just because you have nobody who can contest the Widow except for Greedy. So if they have a Widow, I think you res Greedy. If not, I think you can maybe hold res for somebody else. But yeah, like you see... Oh, Greedy's way back there too when he pops counter sights. Okay, so Complex is going to get burned over here. Let's look at Complex. Okay, I like this angle from Tat and Complex. This is good. Complex needs to play it a little bit further back so that Tat can rest in that hallway safely. Maybe just play right here, because once you deny the high ground, it doesn't matter on what side of the high ground you're on. This is a small high ground. Monkey can cover it. And then you drop before you're full health again, which isn't too much of a concern. Okay, I don't think you drop your Complex because look at the sight line that the Widow, the Zen, and the Hanzo have, and look at where Tat has to push out to heal you. So I think you need to chill here until Tat can rotate way back here. I think you guys aren't using this positioning and this far back positioning quite enough. Because this needs to be your kind of like defensive rotation, but I feel like you guys are kind of still going into the back line quite a lot. So Tat, what I would say is that if Complex wants to play this, you have to let him play it on his own, and you have to rotate out, because this is too risky for you. And I know we want to play with you two comboing together, but more so the idea for me was for you to retreat back here more often than pushing forward, because at least from here, or even if you wanted to push back way here, in order for them to kind of like get sights on you, they have to push into your team a little bit, and then Complex can take advantage of that. I think with this Widow having sights up, especially, it's kind of risky for you to be all the way up here where anybody can see you and pick you off pretty easily. So I think you actually don't drop here and you play this a little bit slower. 1, because we're down 1, and 2, because like I said, Tat has to push out in order to pocket you here. And then you're going to get burned down because you're kind of in the middle of their team in terms of aggression. Like, they haven't pushed in all the way yet. So there's no reason for you to kind of drop in the middle of them. So that was a little bit of a mistake. And then Tat is able to get pushed on by the Hanzo. They get ulted out. And then the enemy team is going to take space. Oh, so Tat, I was thinking about this rotation. I don't know if I had said it, but like this rotation all the way up here as Ana. Why not just take the streets and, like, if we're holding this first corner, take the streets, play from right here, and if you have time, then you can rotate up the stairs. Wow, that was a mess. Then you can rotate up the stairs and come up here and like move from there. That's a much shorter and kind of smoother rotation for the team as a whole. Complex, you need to know when to, you know, like push the aggression and when to help your team in the front. Because although I think it's important to kind of like pressure out this Widow because Greedy got picked, I also think that transition by Tat was super risky, and losing him was, you know, like you could have just placed the bubble here and protected your team that way instead of going to the Widow. And that would have helped your team out a lot. It's a good thing that Hog missed his hook. Holy shit. We kind of stabilize a little bit. We take back first corner. I don't think that this tire is necessary because they're not pushing yet. So we could have bought more time just simply by waiting to have the tire come out. Like, you could have waited just an additional like 5 seconds for the enemies to take space, tired, and have them back up because the tire was out. Yeah, Tat, don't feel so obligated all the time to save Complex. I think Complex has to learn a little bit more how to play within his limits of kind of like his health pool and get back in within your sight lines. Especially here, like, he's primaling. So like, he doesn't need you healing him at all. And I think peeking this angle wide like you were a second ago may be a little bit risky given that they have a Widow. So I think you just kind of like play this a step back and only peek if you want to like go for an anti or damage or a sleep or something like that. Because the Widow there is changing, I think, the scope of the game. If they're running something like a Reaper, I think you take that. That's fine. It's whatever. I mean, if they're running non-one-shot characters, but they're running double sniper, like, that's super risky. Either, and they have a hot Roadhog hook, which, I mean, you're going to see them coming, but I think that's just super risky against all of these heavy pick heroes who they're looking to, like, you know, one-shot you in some capacity. And there's no reason to heal Complex because, you know, he's going to be primal in the backline, and if he gets shredded, then he needs to learn to not do that next time against these types of heroes. Okay, so he gets shredded by the Hog and everybody else because he jumps into the middle of their team when they have no focus on anybody else, which is kind of okay. Shadow, I don't like this positioning. It's too far back. Like, it's very, very far behind them. Super dependent, again, on you getting at least 2 picks in order to make it worthwhile, which I feel like you're about to do here or something like that. Oh, no, you actually just die here. So you needed to concussion out of that and try to get across. You probably still die either way because she has sights up. But, so here you have 1 concussion. Okay, you're playing it slow. You don't shoot in this situation because your team isn't with you. So you have nobody to take aggression for you. You almost get the one-shot combo, but it's still not worth it. You use both of your concussions to try to get a kill, but it's still not worth it because not only do you not get the kill, but it's just not a valuable kill right now. And then right here, yeah, you need to like try to concussion out right here, but it doesn't matter because you get headshot a second later. Yeah, I just think both of the... At least don't use both the concussions. Like, at least just save one of the concussions to try to escape. Because if you hop to over here and try to run, like, you might get back to your team. Jesus, Complex. What happened here? Oh, okay, so you kind of turn the corner into a Hanzo. You have a lot of problems with Hanzo. You just die a lot to Hanzo, and Hanzo is kind of like not a great matchup for Monkey. He does a lot of damage in the first place, right? He's very good at hitting targets who are up close. That corner turn might have just been, I don't know, maybe you just needed to listen a little bit more. Maybe you needed to have somebody scout the high ground for you. I don't think you need to take that high ground necessarily. Like, I don't think you need to walk up there if you don't have control of the space in front of it because of the situation that just happened. I think next time you either jump up there or jump onto cart. See, this is the thing. This is a composition that we should have an advantage against because Complex should be able to bully their Widow and their Zen, and then this should be fairly free hit headshots for Greedy. But I think we're making a lot of small mistakes, which is causing our team to kind of just like fall apart. Like, none of these okay, so this team is really, really good at dealing damage, and our team is not so great at blocking damage, but they're also really, really good at, you know, abusing squishies. So I think that we're just doing a poor job of kind of noting that we're just losing a lot of duels in the first place. But we're doing it because I think we just don't have a good sense of when to go in, or you know, proper positioning when it comes to using the right angles, because like I was talking about with greedy, like you need to clear certain angles first, you need to clear certain high grounds. There's a high ground you have to clear right now actually, and you need to engage as a team. Like Complex should have been jumping up here as Shadow pushed in there, because that would have been a really nice pincer and confirmed that kill on the Hanzo. But Shadow goes in when Complex is half, and the Complex is half because he peeked the angle when nobody was really ready. We also should, again, be playing from this right side. Sorry. I just think that this right side, the boxes, the mini, the connection to the space over here that gives you a decent little alternate angle to attack from, just objectively better. Okay, so this is a good pincer maneuver. Clear that high ground nice and quickly. She has to run away or she dies. Where's that dragon going? Down middle? Okay, we don't care about that. But yeah, then we need to get into a situation where we're getting back onto this left-hand side so that we can get, or right-hand side, getting back into this right-hand side so that we can get back into Tat's POV. Because we're holding the right? That's our objective, to hold the right. That means Tat's going to be on the right. That means our healing and everything, our whole basis for this composition in terms of stability is going to be on the right-hand side. This is a good tire. I like this tire. You're in like decent positioning where it's not too hard for the team to get to you and help you out. But you're also kind of like on a little flank. I think it really is about getting our opening pick. Like if we can secure that first pick, I think this composition is really good. But I think when we start getting picked, the recovery mechanics aren't that great. In terms of like how you guys should maybe be playing on a micro sense, but also just the composition isn't too stable once one part gets kind of taken out, because there's certain counters that you need to have for everything. So like take for instance, which I mean is a normal thing. That's why 5v6 are hard, right? But like the fact that they have a Widow means that every time Greedy gets picked, the enemy Widow runs rampant. Every time you know, Complex gets picked, that means the enemy Hanzo and the enemy Zen can run rampant. Every time Genetic gets picked, that means that there's, you know, just less presence on the enemy tanks and stuff like that, so on and so forth. Everybody kind of has a role to fill, which is the way it should be in a lot of ways, but... Nice hook. Did you peek that too wide? You're just kind of aiming too low there. I also think you did kind of peek that too wide, because let's look at that from her POV. Okay, so now she knows where you are. Yeah, like, look how wide you are of that angle, and look how close she is to her corner. She really makes it difficult for you to read where her hitbox is. Meanwhile, you're just out in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice shot, right? It's a nice shot, but, like, you're not doing yourself any favors by not taking this kind of angle, like, closer here to make it harder for her. Because you could be, like, forward and your head hitbox can be higher, or you could be back and your head hitbox can be lower. And that's you know, your inability to know where her head hitbox was made the difference, because you shot first, you hit the shot. It was just a matter of like she hit the headshot, you hit a body shot. Oh, let me put it back on 1x speed. What happened to your Genetic? Why does he die? Alright, Shadow, this is No, this is fine, actually, because this is before the Riptire, so it's kind of okay. Tat, I don't know why you're so far forward. I'm going to go look in a second, I think. Okay, you're backing up at least, actually. I don't really care anymore. As long as you're backing up, I'm going to assume the reason that you went forward was something valid. Okay, so Genetic is dead. Their hog is sleeping. We're able to get a res off. Very, very nice. Oh, maybe pushing forward because the shield. I think you just have to still play that safely. Good hook. Stops the thing. Shadow after... Okay, so yeah, Shadow after the tire, you kind of have to rotate back behind the team. Because this is super duper risky. Because you're kind of like... You're next to Genetic, but you're in front of Genetic. I don't know where my frames are going or why. You're next to Genetic, but you're in front of Genetic. So, like, the enemy team still has really clear shots on you without having to worry about Genetic's body getting in the way or anybody else being able to help you. So, yeah, like, this Sigma is able to turn, and Genetic would have to, like, stretch out of his way to go get you. There's no cover that you can really get to. I mean, you go to the right, but you don't. Like, you will go back to the left. Which, I mean, isn't bad, but I don't know. It's just the positioning is very, very wide of where you want to be. You want to be back towards the left with your team, then you got to play back towards the left with your team. We don't want to be using all those cooldowns and resources to play back to the left with the team. Tat, you're too far forward here. I thought it was maybe a proper reason, but I have no idea why you would be too far forward here. There's really nobody for you to heal in front of Genetic. There's no reason for you to be all the way up here. Even if the shield is coming up, like, you just got to play it slow and let them know. And, like, try to maybe break the shield. Because Genetic has self-heal, Luna can heal through the shield. Shadow should be playing back towards the team. There's no reason that you should be all the way back here. Jesus Christ. And Genetic needs to be the priority for heals here because he is going to be frontlining. So he gets hit with a ton of shit and winds up dying. Luna can't keep him alive on her own. You're healing Shadow. Yeah, I'm going to assume that hit. You're healing Shadow, but I don't think it's very necessary. Do you have cooldowns? What's your cooldowns like? Where did that nade go and why? Sleep on the hog. Still not sure why you're moving forward here. Yeah, you can't... For this composition, you have to save your bio nade. Because Luna's gonna need it to prop up her heal, or Genetics, more specifically, Genetics gonna need it to make the break points of his health pool insane, because that's what's gonna keep him alive. And same thing for Complex. Those nades should be going on friendlies unless they're running something with obnoxious healing that needs to be antied. You kind of just like yeeted it at the Sigma. And if it had landed, it would have been good, but it gets eaten. And I think this is really part of one of the things that you could have done to keep Genetic alive is land that nade better and land it with the intent for your, like, with the main intent being for your allies and not just kind of yeeting it at the fight. It's cool to try to get, like, the 12-man nades where everybody gets hit with the Nancy and you get, like, if you can splash both, it's great. But there's sometimes that you have to have priority on what the nade does. And I think for this composition, especially the way that we're getting picked in burns, like, you need to save it then for giving that healing buff, because it's going to be really big for, like, changing this breakpoint, because then the healing that Luna gives on Genetic is going to make it so that I think he's probably going to get discorded, right? Does he get discorded? Genetic goes for the... Oof. Yeah, maybe don't go for that hook next time too, Genetic. Not when you're that low in this kind of, like... You're just chill for a second. Because there's no other shield or anybody in front of you. But yeah, I think you can kind of change that and try to negate some of that damage there. Even... Was that a nade again? Okay, you gotta kill on the Mercy. That's cool. And you put an anti on the enemy Widow, but... Complex might really be able to use that to survive some of the burst damages he's going to get, because nobody's going to... Like, it's not your job to kill the Mercy, too. That's the other thing. But nobody's going to be able to really follow up on that Widow anti right now. Unless Shadow is. I guess he's in a decent-ish position to follow up. But he doesn't need the anti to kill the Widow, because he just two-shots her regardless of the anti. He has too much burst damage. Big sleeps. Big sleeps. Okay, so this is... So yeah, for that one, the breakpoint, I guess, doesn't even matter. It doesn't change anything. But I think it only changes something if it's Luna healing with the thing, because I think the just consistent pump of healing is just better than the burst healing from Ana, because Ana is... What is Ana healing? Overwatch Ana healing per second. No, I don't want... Oh, it's literally Ana versus Mercy right here. Here we go. 90 healing per second. Yeah, so Ana's maximum healing output is 90 healing per second, assuming she's landing every single shot at her maximum fire rate. This means that on live, Ana needs to land 66% of her shots to be on par with Mercy, and that doesn't include reloading. So I think this is the key part, right? That Mercy doesn't require reloading, and she also doesn't require, like, the 100% hit accuracy. So although Mercy's healing per second is going down to 50, or went down to 50 around July 18th, 2018 or whatever, it is... And I think they actually put it back up to 60, to be fair. It is more reliable and consistent, so the nade is really, really good if you have, like, a Zen Orb or if you have a Mercy on, because just the healing per second is so stable and consistently buffed that it's better than healing, you know, like if you throw an Ana nade and are healing yourself, which is why, even though I think Genetic had the nade on him here on card, I think it's partially why he wasn't able to stay alive, just because the healing might be slightly inconsistent, or because the healing per second, in order for Ana to keep up, needs to be fucking perfect, you know? Like, you need to be hitting every shot, no reloads, which isn't really feasible. Let's see. Yeah, so you missed 2 shots there. And that's like an extra, let's say, what does she heal per shot? Shit, though. I still don't know what she heals per shot. Abilities. Damage spread. What's the healing? The heck? I don't care about the damage. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's still 70. So it's 70, and then Bionade buffs healing by 50% additional healing, so that's 35, right? Excuse me, sorry. So it's 105, so you missed 2 shots, so that's 205 health that Genetic would have had. I also want to look at, hold on, let's see something else. Okay, Genetic had taken damage. So when you use the nade, does he get the 100 health? Yeah, okay. Because sometimes those small things can be useful too. So yeah, that's an extra like 205 health, or 210 health that he would have had that might have kept him alive, and it's partially why he also has Discord on him, which is gonna burn him really hard. But that's partially why the Mercy healing would have probably made the difference here, is just because the small minute number changes where it's more consistent. You miss 2 shots, he's missing 90 healing per second, and I think just in terms of kind of like a raw healing output, that Mercy's just a little bit better than Ana, and it probably does just come down to those misses and those reloads sometimes. Okay, let's keep looking through. What are we at? Oh my god, I didn't even think about it. Oh, we're at 33 minutes. I'm such a fucking liar. We're not even close to the 25-minute mark that I put. Holy shit. I think we hold them right before they get it, which is good. This was funny. This is a good combo. This is a good picks. I'm sorry, Shadow. I forgot that happens. That's funny. Greedy, you keep losing this Widow duel. I'm going to start just watching from your perspective. Yeah, like, look how wide this angle is. Look at how many things that you have to check. Right? So, if you had been closer to this pole, you at least would have been able to close the angle out. But this widow could come from up here, down here, over here, over here. She technically could grapple up here, but you would probably see her. She could come from over here if she went around a wide flank. And you're just standing in a space where she could hit all of them. At least if you get closer to this pole here, you cut out, like, this half of them or something. Like, she won't be able to see you as easily from, like, these three. But, like, this is such a wide angle that you're taking. Let me see. Is she even close to the fight right now? Let's see if she's close to the fight. She's not close. Okay, so she's coming back into the fight. I want to see how you react. She has a few seconds before she gets back into the fight. How do you reposition when she's supposed to be back into the fight? You take a more aggressive angle. There we go. Hey, my frames were back though. Thanks. Yeah. You're losing this duel because your positioning on Widow is poor and you don't clear your sight lines very well. Alright, I'm gonna stop there. I really wanna... One day we're gonna fucking look at our attack. But I feel like I've gone over a lot of stuff already. And some of this stuff can just be replicated onto attack as well. You know, the timing of when to push, whether or not to be aggressive, depending on if the picks were done early or during chaotic fight. Positioning as Widow, etc., healing with Mercy and Ana, blah, blah, blah. So, hopefully you guys are able to get through this. I'm going to stop. See you.